Welcome to your daily history dose at 1900 hours. I'm Anuska and this is Hardships of Early Industrial Life. On today's show, we'll be talking to our good friend Charles Dickens on his thoughts about factory towns. Don't forget to order his book at a nearest bookstore. We'll be back after these messages. And we're back with Charles Dickens, who unfortunately can't make it to the studio due to the riots spreading in Manchester. But we have him on the phone. Tell me, Charles, what inspired you to write Hard Times?
Let me read you an excerpt from the book, and you can gander a guess about who and what inspired me. It was a town of machinery and tall chimneys, out of which interminable serpents of smoke trailed themselves forever and ever. It had a black canal in it, and a river that ran purple with ill-smelling dye. It was inhabited by people who all went in and out at the same hours, to do the same work, and to whom every day was the same as yesterday and tomorrow, and every year the counterpart of the last and the next.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thanks very much, Charles. You've been a pleasure. Everyone order his book, it's pretty good. Moving on, there seems to be some sort of urbanization happening in Manchester. Fill us in, Sakshi.
Well, Anuska, let me tell you what urbanization is in the first place, since you seem to know nothing about it, silly. Urbanization is the movement of people to cities. Changes in farming, soaring population growth, and an ever-increasing demand for workers, leading masses of people to migrate from farms to cities.
Oh, that's a great piece of information. Thanks, Sakshi. Could you please inform us about the rigid discipline in factory systems?
So, Anuska, the condition under which one has to work in a factory is abysmal. Their long working hours have to be endured, and dangerous killing machines. Even the coal dust is harmful if breathed in, and sick or injured workers lose their jobs. Terrible conditions indeed.
Geez, sounds terrible. Is it true that women have to work the same as the men, but get paid less?
That is true.
Us women really have it hard, having to work and then going home to a hungry family. Moving on. I've heard even children are working in this factory. In fact, here's a video about it. So sad. I've heard that weavers and other skilled artisans resisted the labor-saving machines that were costing them their jobs. Were there many riots and protests going on?
Yes, indeed. Machines were being smashed and factories being burnt. Such rioters in England were called Luddites. When workers held a rally in Manchester in 1819, soldiers attacked the crowd, killing a dozen people and wounding hundreds more. Protests met harsh repression. Luddites were hanged or sent to penal colonies in Australia. For years, workers were forbidden to form labor unions to bargain for better pay and working conditions.
I'm gutted. That is bloody hell.
I know, I'm appalled. But let me tell you about the spread of Methodism.
Oh yes, do enlighten me.
Well, many working class people found comfort in a new religious movement. In the mid-1700s, John Wesley had been the leader of a religious revival and founded the Methodist Church. Methodist meetings featured hymns and sermons promising forgiveness of sin and a better life to come. Methodist preachers set up Sunday schools where followers not only studied the Bible but also learned to read and write. Methodists helped channel workers' anger away from revolution and toward social reform.
This is brilliant. I am gobsmacked. I really want to know, who benefited the most from the Industrial Revolution?
The entrepreneurs who set it in motion.
Really? Do elaborate.
These entrepreneurs came from several groups. They were merchants, skilled artisans, or inventors. Their families lived in nice homes and ate and dressed well. Women were encouraged to become ladies. In addition, people valued hard work and the determination to get ahead. Furthermore, let me tell you about the working class. It is quite sad. Firstly, the farm families felt lost when they moved into the cities, but in time they did develop their own sense of community. Workers protested low pay and harsh working conditions were met with repression. Many found comfort in the Methodist Church, which promised a better life to come. We do have footage of the middle and working class. Would you like to view it?
Abso-bloody-lutely.
The upper class had servants and maids to do their housework and lived in the peaceful countryside. The middle class had two different groups. One was the upper middle class and the other was the lower middle class. The working class, also known as the lower class, suffered the most out of all the three different groups. Many women and children died from black lung disease, which was when the coal dust was inhaled.
That was wicked. And it was also a really insightful clip of these different classes.
Yes. And I would really like to tell y'all about the benefits and problems.
Please, go ahead. I've been wondering whether the Industrial Revolution was a blessing or a curse. Why don't you tell us, Sakshi?
Yes, okay. Firstly, the Industrial Revolution created social problems. Low pay, unemployment, dismal living conditions. Many people were living and working in unsafe and unsanitary conditions, and fearing starvation if they lost their jobs.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Oh, it was. If you look at this picture, you will see that about 33% of the population were working, which were young adults. This breaks my heart to see so many kids working, and the jobs were in such harsh conditions. I mean, it was so easy to break an arm. In addition, I have more pictures of the Industrial Revolution.
I find shelter in this way.
On the bright side, some good things did come out of the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, really? I honestly, personally, I can't imagine anything remotely good coming out of that terrible, horrible, abysmal, gut-wrenching period of time. I'm pretty sure it was nothing but bad stuff.
Right. No, ironically, this created increasing demand for mass-produced goods, which led to the creation of more jobs.
That's it, more jobs. I mean, the Industrial Revolution was a cruel period of time, and more jobs is just a tiny speck within that blood of terribleness.
No, it also created rising wages. The cost of railroad travel fell.
Oh.
Horizons widened and opportunities increased.
Oh, that's pretty good, I guess. Those are pretty solid explanations.
Yes.
I'm impressed. We'll be back after these messages.
Anuska has gone to the loo, but I would like to take this chance to show y'all a video to demonstrate the effects of the Industrial Revolution.
The classic view of historians is that the Industrial Revolution changed the whole structure of society. It turned the world upside down. That Britain's clouded hills, its green and pleasant land, was transformed from a rural society to an industrial society. And that change was pretty sudden and dramatic. Well, revolutionary. But was it really like that? That view's being questioned now. Some historians argue that a lot of those changes had already started by 1750. The old feudal system was gone forever. The towns were growing, and there was already a lot of manufacturing, even if on a small scale, and scattered about. So maybe the seeds were already there. Maybe it wasn't such a big change after all. One thing's certain though. The coming of the factories and the mines did bring changes, however long they took to happen. They created a new class of ruler. The capitalist mill owners, who enjoyed wealth and power like the kings and barons of old. And they created a new class of those who were ruled over, the industrial workers, who came to be called the working class.
Well, that was a fascinating video. Now I would like to show you a video just to sum up what the Industrial Revolution is.
What does it take to move a mountain? During the Industrial Revolution, technological and socio-economic mountains were not only moved, but transformed, and the sweeping changes initiated in Britain eventually affected countries all over the world. In the 18th century, domestic peace, economic health, and the availability of critical iron and coal resources in Britain set the stage for change. Ingenuity turned the spinning wheel, a simple craftsperson's tool for hundreds of years, into a time and labor-saving device. It wasn't long before textile and loom factories essentially replaced home spinning and weaving. With the textile industry leading the way, the shift to manufacturing created unprecedented demand for new machines, mechanical components, processed materials, and skilled labor. Transportation systems expanded to keep up with the escalating flow of goods. Cities grew, work became increasingly specialized, mechanized, and urbanized. An agricultural-based economy evolved into an industrial one. The marriage of science and industry produced great changes both at home and abroad. Eli Whitney's cotton gin, 1763. Charles Babbage's mechanical computer, 1834. The first steam carriage, steam ship, and steam locomotive. All these inventions emerged within a very fertile 80-year span. And even today, many of the world's mountains are still being moved as the products and processes born of the Industrial Revolution continue to shape and transform our modern lives.
It's actually funny how it began with great suffering, but in the end, it actually produced legitimate good things for us people.
Well, you know what they say. Always turn a negative situation into a positive situation.
That's so true. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. But I'm your host, Anuska Kartha, and can we please have a big round of applause for our guest speaker today, Sakshi Dhureja. We'll come back to you tomorrow at the same time on your daily dose of history at 1900 hours. Thank you for watching. Good night.